Good afternoon, everybody. It is really a good time to be here on the webcast. I am Valerie Gupte from People Matters, and we are back with an exciting session of our webcast in partnership with Sodexo on the topic using new age incentives for creating a better employee experience. So basically, today we have our partner Sodexo, who is going to be with us, and we are going to have an insightful panel discussion and a webcast on the topic using new age incentives so that your employee experience can be a bit better and your employees can become more productive. According to Glassdoor, extravagant perks and incentives attract talent. 57% of candidates report benefits and perks being among their top considerations before actually accepting a job. In order to keep their valuable members, a lot of companies provide perks like a company car, flexible work hours, designated parking space, bonuses for successfully accomplished projects, or implementation of cost reduction measures, and loads of other perks and incentives that should keep the employee happy with their status in the firm. However, the workforce of today is changing at a rapid pace, and common incentives can actually chase the talent off rather than pulling them in toward the decision of maybe joining the company or staying on. So it affects both employee retention and hiring. So in this webcast with People Matters and Sodexo, we will learn the new age incentives to attract the new age workforce. So this webcast will address some of the following points, such as can employee incentives help you as an employer win the war for talent? Why the current incentives are not working? And what do the new generation of employees want and expect? And that is the key question that we're going to try and tackle here. Also, what are the new emerging incentives and how can they impact the overall candidate experience? So basically treating the employee and the candidate from the beginning as a candidate experience journey rather than just, once they walk into the door during their orientation. Also, we will be tackling how employee rewards and incentives can play a crucial role in creating an overall employee experience that increases overall retention index and in turn productivity, efficiency, and workplace emotions as well. So I take the pleasure to invite and introduce the speakers for today. We are so glad to have Suvarna Mishra, the VP of HR at Sodexo. Suvarna has more than 16 years of experience across various sectors, currently as CHRO for Sodexo Benefits and Rewards India and part of the Executive Management Committee. She's responsible for the country's business HR strategy and deployment on all people matters in India. She also drives the global diversity and inclusion agenda for Sodexo in India, along with some other key strategic HR programs. So thank you, Suvarna, for being here. We are really glad to have you.
Thank you, Valerie, for that nice introduction of mine. Very good afternoon to you and to all the audience who are here to listen this chat on employee experience in the new age.
Thanks, Suvarna. Really looking forward to talking to you as well. We have our next speaker. She is Lipika Verma, the Director of Rewards Global Supply Chain with Schneider Electric. With over 2 decades of rich experience in the areas of HR business partnering and compensations and benefits, with sharp strategic focus on the areas of HR, Lipika has specialized in designing and implementing reward solutions and HR solutions across various areas of sales and marketing, technology, research and development, and manufacturing. She is currently the global rewards leader for global supply chain business of Schneider Electric. So, hi, Lipika. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you. Thanks a lot, Valerie, and thanks for the introduction. Thanks for the opportunity to both People Matters and Sodexo, and I look forward to having a great session with all the participants.
Same here, same here. So I would just like to welcome the two of you to our webcast and also recognize our partners for today, the Sodexo Group. So a little bit about the Sodexo Group. They work towards improving the quality of daily life for employees, partners, and customers across the world. Sodexo Benefits and Reward Services India is 100% digital India's number one employee motivation and benefit services provider. It is a partner to more than 11,000 companies in public and private sectors. Their employee benefit solutions are customized to meet the specific needs of each organization and help them develop their best motivated workforce. And also, I would just like to take this opportunity to talk to the audience and ask them to keep their questions for towards the end of the webcast. We are live right now, and you can simply submit the questions at any time during the session. And we'll try to respond to as many questions as possible, as we have a few minutes set aside for those questions towards the end of the webcast. So we have an exciting topic for us to discuss today in this webcast, and I would love to give it back to our speakers for today, Lipika and Suvarna. Over to you.
Okay, thanks, Valerie, and a very, very warm welcome to all the participants on behalf of Suvarna and myself. So I'll just start sharing my screen. I did want to kind of share a few slides while I speak. So Valerie, just confirm if you're able to see my screen, and then I can get started.
Yes, we are able to see your screen. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right. So thanks, everyone. And just in terms of the context, if you look at this topic for today in terms of using new age incentives, it's something which is extremely pertinent today, extremely useful for the HR professionals as well as the rewards leaders in terms of the overall employee experience, as well as from a perspective of attraction, motivation, and retention of talent in this era where you have a continuous war for talent happening. So extremely topical and very, very important. And I think all the companies are really working towards ensuring that we have something which is meaningful for an employee. Now, before I really take you through my thoughts over there and some of the aspects of what we have done in the rewards area, just a quick overview of Schneider Electric. We are a company into automation and energy management. It's a French multinational with almost 140,000 employees present globally. In India, the overall footprint is for more than 20,000 employees with our R&D facility in Bangalore. We have close to almost 24 manufacturing units spread across India. And we work a lot through our channel partners and system integrators and operate across 48 sales office and 53 distribution centers. So for those of you who are new, just wanted to cover very quickly, and we are kind of a manufacturing setup plus a lot into energy management, as I said. And all of us are pretty excited with the meaningful purpose with which we work, because we are in the area of energy management, energy conservation, which is extremely important from an environment perspective. Now, talking about rewards and talking about an effective strategy, when you look at an effective reward strategy, I strongly feel that it's an interplay between four factors. It comes in terms of an external competitiveness, when we are really trying to peg ourselves in terms of external competition. Where do we want to place ourselves? A lot depends on the financial consideration as to what's the affordability of the organization, where are we trying to invest more in terms of employee benefits, how do we kind of keep a balance between benefits and compensation. So a lot depends on the financial consideration. We also need to manage very well around the talent strategy, and the reward strategy and talent strategy has to talk to each other, and that's extremely important from the strategy standpoint. Last but not the least is employee preference. And as we get into this era of multi-generational workforce, we are talking about new employees who have very different kind of aspirations and different kind of needs. How do we co-create our strategy in terms of benefits, in terms of incentives, so that it becomes extremely meaningful for the employee? And we have to look at their preferences for sure, so that when we co-create anything, the buy-in of that particular policy or benefit is extremely high, as well as the uptake of the program is high. So I would say that from a reward strategy perspective, these are four areas that we do keep in mind as rewards leaders while drawing out the strategy for any organization. This is something very generic, not really Schneider specific, but that's something that needs to be kept in mind. Now, talking about total rewards, most of you would be familiar with this chart, wherein we try and call total rewards as a combination of compensation, benefits, development, and environment. Compensation around the base pay, around the short-term incentive plan, around long-term incentive plan in terms of equity participation and recognition. And the equity participation can be in the form of performance shares, in the form of stock options, or any kind of equity program that the company is running. And recognition is something which is again extremely important for all kind of age groups. Benefits is really drawing out from various policies that we have related with health, welfare, retirement, leave policy, and all those welfare related policies that we have, which is in today's context like a given. People don't really ask while joining an organization of what kind of a medical insurance you have. Of course, it's extremely important, but that's something which is like a hygiene factor there, and most of the companies do manage themselves at an industry level around the benefits. Development is again something very meaningful from an employee standpoint, and the entire piece on performance management, learning, career development opportunities is something where the employee considers it as part of total rewards, and that's something which is again very important from his or her perspective. Environmental today is becoming much and more important day by day, because the kind of culture which is existing in the company, the work design, the kind of flexibility related aspects, the flexibility and choice related policies which are existing, and also the affiliation in terms of really the emotional quotient which employees bring to the company is taking a very, very high level today when we are talking about new age employees. It's very important for people to be connected with the organization emotionally. And therefore, how do we as rewards professionals and HR people really make that environment conducive for the new age generation and for the new employees who are coming to join the company? So therefore, when you look at these relational aspects of environment and development, these are things which are getting important by the day. Now, moving on to some of the elements of rewards, when we say that we talk about rewards in terms of monetary rewards, there are certain benefits and then there are non-monetary rewards. As I said, monetary will be in terms of the base pay, the compensation basis, the salary structures that companies have. A short-term incentive depending on the role that the individual is doing, be it a sales-related role or it's a non-sales role, or for that matter, for manufacturing setups, if we have blue-collared employees, the various collective plans which are there. And then, of course, retention plans for key talent if that's running within the company. Benefits, as I was just speaking, again related with medical insurance, the leave policy, various kind of pension plans, or if there are travel related policies, health related benefits, how often people get to move on international opportunities. All those are things which are taking a lot of importance. However, we see a whole lot of focus in this new age shifting towards non-monetary rewards, and these are holding a much larger ground today as we move, forward in the era of alternative workforce, or as we move in the era of gig workers, where we are probably going to have volunteers who will come and work for an organization, work on a project that excites them, and then move on to another project. So non-monetary rewards is something which is picking up a whole lot of steam as we move forward, and it's extremely important for us to concentrate on these areas, because those are those areas where people see it as a difference, as a differentiator, and try and make the best use of it. Now, if you look at non-monetary rewards, there can be, of course, work-life integration that we are talking about. Uh, we kind of have stopped using work-life balance as a terminology, which used to be there a few years back. All the companies are talking about work-life integration because that's the way companies are moving. Recognition, a pat on the back, social recognition, all that is quite important in today's context. Well-being is another piece where I'll talk about some of the best practices of Schneider, but this is something which is extremely, extremely important, and companies are realizing that piece and working a lot in the area of well-being and area of employee care as a whole. Again, the way the new generation is coming, the way people want to work in companies, they need a lot of empowerment. And the sooner organizations realize it, the better it is, because uh, even if you look at schools today and look at the education that the kids are getting, a whole lot of empowerment is coming from that age. And if the same student is getting into a workforce, they also need an empowered culture where they can use their creativity and turn out the final deliverable in the best possible way. Over and above, I think companies' brand value, the brand name is something very important. People do want to look at job security for sure, but I think at the end of the day, a lot of people, as I was stating the example of Schneider, when you talk to them, people want to see the purpose for which they are working, or the purpose of the larger organization. And that's also extremely important as part of non-monetary rewards. So as I was sharing, monetary rewards and benefits is pretty much there, but what is picking up a lot of importance today is the non-monetary rewards, and we need to give due care to this aspect. Moving on, this is a slide which I kind of thought about in terms of how, of course, it's picked up from the future of work, but I thought it was very relevant for this session, is in terms of how in the past employees used to work, where there were fixed hours of work, where they would go to the office, work for a few hours and come back home, and the work time was limited to those exact hours. And then most of the time the climb would be in a vertical order in terms of the corporate ladder. There was little focus on knowledge and learning, and a lot of it used to be very, very hierarchy driven. But if you can, kind of compare what was the scenario 10 years back to what has come now, and what we see as future, there's a huge, huge difference that we are seeing. And we being in the workforce for over 20 years, I mean, we have realized how the things have changed over the past even 5-7 years, because the way flexibility is being offered by the corporations today, the way we are supposed to be on emails all around the all around the clock, and we are kind of catering to multi time zones, the way we are 24/7 connected. I think a huge, huge change is already something that we are seeing, and the rate at which the changes are further going to happen is going to be phenomenal. So from a perspective of working anytime, working anywhere, using any kind of device, creating your own ladder, and not only rising from a vertical standpoint, but probably doing it even through lateral changes. A lot of people today are interested to take up roles which are lateral roles, because it gets them exposed to different areas of work, and not only they are in a silo, but probably try and get experience on some of the other functional aspects. So that's something which is becoming very, very common, because a person wants to have that holistic exposure rather than only working in terms of the hierarchy movement. Again, the way the learnings are moving, how companies are propagating e-learnings, how companies are propagating social recognition. I think the evolution of employee has happened, and it's going to continuously happen. And therefore, if we were to look at some of those traditional drivers when it comes to, let's say, social security, or any policy in terms of one size fits all that has lost its sheen. So these things in terms of social security or monetary benefits, or some of those must haves, is something which is a given. So during an interview also, employees don't, or potential employee doesn't ask for it. It is understood that these things will come with the offer. What is more important is in terms of present and future drivers, where we are talking about those gig workers, alternative workforce. It's high time that we, as HR professionals, really think through of how do we get people to work on contracts? How do we want people to come and work for a certain project for 6-8 months and then move on to another project? How do we advertise internal jobs within the company? How do we give exposure to various kind of workforce and multi-generational workforce that's available, and how to best utilize their competence to churn out a great project? The other piece is having the element of flexibility and choice, because again, in the era of choice today, we all want choice in our personal lives as well as professional lives. And how do companies provide you with that choice? So even if it's, let's say, a medical insurance policy, uh, how do we plan a choice element in it? What suits me probably will not suit someone who is 20 years younger to me. And therefore, how do you give that flexibility and choice element to employees? What an employee at the age of 55 needs in a company would not be the same requirement for someone who is joining the organization at the age of 25. So therefore, from a policy perspective, how do you incorporate the element of choice and flexibility? Apart from that, of course, everything has to be aligned with the business requirements, and benefits is definitely becoming a differentiator in the market. Another big point today is well-being, and associated with it is the employee assistance program, because in this, again, the era of globalization, where companies are wanting to put a mark on the global footprint, there's a lot of stress on the employees, there's a lot of stress on the people, and under stress, people don't perform at their best. So what is it that we can do differently as companies to make sure that we do for the employees so that their performance is at the best, they're able to come up with the best possible deliverable, and how do we manage all that? And therefore, I'll talk about a little bit in detail around well-being, which is one of the best practices that I wanted to talk through on this particular panel. And overall, as I said, there's a huge difference which is coming up in terms of how the times are changing. Now, very quickly, what I wanted to share was, again, when we are trying to map benefits and trying to evolve those benefits, we need to do a lot in terms of various age groups and the employee life cycle. So some of the benefits which are required at the time the workforce, the employee is joining the workforce, some of the needs will be very, very different, because a bachelor would be joining the workforce. The person is not married, but they would really want to, have certain things in terms of, let's say, a car policy or professional membership or a gym membership, whatever. So that kind of changes when they reach the age group of 30 to 35, where the needs are slightly different, and hence the policies have to be co-created again. And it really helps to co-create those policies, benefit policies, because then it comes straight from the minds of the employees, and the uptake of the program is very good. Plus, it has a lot of relevant information. So it's always best to have employees getting involved in these discussions when all these policies are formulated. And as they proceed, and between the age of 45 to 50, again there are changes in terms of what an employee needs, and therefore the element of flexibility over there, as far as the policies are concerned, has to be brought in. Towards the end, when the employee is almost on the verge of retirement, there are certain things which are holding a high importance for the employee. The cash flow at that point in time, the overall, employee stock option plan, or certain things related with the social security benefit. All that is of extreme importance at that point in time. However, across all the groups that you see, we do need to keep in mind well-being of the employees, irrespective of the age, and that's something which is extremely pertinent. Health and a whole lot of area around well-being is something which is of importance, through the life of an individual and through the life of an employee within the organization, and therefore a lot needs to be done in that direction as well. So just quickly taking you through some of the very innovative work that we did within Schneider, and this has been considered as a best practice at an Asia Pacific level as well. We did a whole lot of work around well-being, and what we felt was that there are three parties involved when it comes to catering to the well-being of employees. It is the individual's responsibility, it is the leader's responsibility, as well as organizational responsibility, and all have to come together through a collective journey in order to make sure that there is the well-being existing, or the well-being is brought about, care element is brought about by the organization for its employees. So what we worked on was around these four areas of physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being. And some of the aspects that we covered was around health and wellness, which is in other terms known as physical well-being. A lot of work has happened around the flexibility at work, because as I said, be it any employee, we do need flexibility, and that's something where a lot of policies were developed, and again, the uptake of those policies is very, very high. Workplace from a comfort perspective, workplace from the perspective that even having a good parking space is something extremely important for an employee, and has the company done something in that regard to make sure that people don't struggle with the parking lot when they come in the morning and want to park their cars. Leadership, how much is the involvement from leadership, how much is the walking the talk happening within the company, how much are leaders really inclined towards this entire concept, and last but not the least, organizational culture, wherein we are talking about the manager-subordinate relationship which is existing. We are talking about the culture of recognition. How do we enhance the culture of recognition? How does the collaborative culture enhance within a company? How do we ensure that people don't work in silos? So these are things which is of great importance. And of course, there's a lot of work which has happened in the area of physical well-being through flexi medical insurance, a lot of emphasis on preventive health checkups. On the mental well-being side, the sabbatical policy, which was enhanced pretty much in tune with the culture of India and in tune with the culture of the organization. Also talking about the EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, which somewhere helps the employees to open up and take that support from an organization which has specialized in that area. Around emotional well-being, a lot done through the energy workshops that we ran, where we do energy audits for employees in terms of these 4 areas, and we try and get the person to work on the area where he or she is not really where he or she wants to be. So a lot around that area. And then social well-being. While a lot of employees do genuinely want to contribute towards the society, they probably are not getting the chance in this era of you know busy times that they're having, as well as in the mad rush that we are all going through, especially in the metros. So how does the organization support through something called well-being labs, where a set of people come together and do something for the society? So just as an example, we had tied up with an NGO which was catering to orphans, and how we help the children to get their wishes. So we had done a wish tree in the office where we collected wishes from these little kids, and we hung it on the tree, and we asked the employees to give those gifts to kids. And it was very heartening to see that within a week, people came up, and the employees came up, and they made sure that all the wishes of these orphan kids actually gets fulfilled. So while we had talked about a couple of weeks by which the employees could come forward and give those gifts, within like 3 days, all the gifts were pretty much there at our reception in our office. So which was a clear signal that employees do want to do something for the society, but probably they are not having enough time or not getting a chance to do something. And therefore, how do you support employees from a social well-being standpoint? So these were some of the aspects, and I think overall the employee experience, the employee engagement index, everything has gone extremely high when we measured the organization in a span of 3 years, after a lot of work had gone into the well-being for Schneider Electric. I would just like to kind of summarize a little bit here in terms of some of the guiding principles which we use while creating a better employee experience. We do talk about multi-generational workforce, where we have people coming from different age groups, and they are all coming together to work in a collaborative manner. And how do you kind of adjust the policies, processes, systems to cater to this multi-generational workforce? The element of choice and flexibility, as I talked about, extremely important. We want it everywhere, and flexibility has to be there in our professional lives. The benefits in line with the life stages, a lot of focus on employees' well-being and work-life integration. A lot of employee engagement has to be built in while we are discussing about the potential of career growth, because every individual is unique and they have their unique aspirations to work forward and move their career in a particular direction. And how does the manager and organization support them in achieving their aspiration? Beyond that, as I talked about alternative workforce and gig economy, what is it that we are doing in terms of flexible contracts? How do we invest in enhancing the recognition culture in the company? All that is there, which needs to be thought through in a very detailed manner by all of us. And I must say that with all this, I think technology is a must, because whenever you are running programs, whenever you are introducing choice and flexibility, technology is something which is going to support you. So anytime that we have started on any project, we have made sure that it's a technology driven project, because otherwise enhancing it or enhancing the utilization of any benefit becomes a bit of a problem if we don't have it all covered through technology. And the last point is really around communication. I think in the entire series of things, communication is a must, and it's extremely important to communicate well with employees both ways. So we need to hear what the employees have to say, and then, of course, deliver in terms of what they feel. And therefore, I would like to just close by saying that rewards and incentives are very important when we are trying to create an overall employee experience. And it's important to look at it and probably customize it basis the need of the organization, basis what the people want in that particular setup, and how they want it to be implemented across in their company. With that, I would like to now hand over the stage to Suvarna to take us through some of the inputs from her organization. So over to you, Suvarna. Thank you.
Thank you, Lipika, so much for that extensive and at length delivery on how organizations are aiming to deliver a differentiated and fulfilling employee experience, particularly from a total rewards perspective. Dear audience, given that Sodexo's entire business and existence revolves around the topic of employee experience and quality of life, I'll attempt to share with you my perspective on this topic today, along with some examples and the references of our recent experience with various clients that we work with, and we have tried to improve their employee experiences. Having said that, I'm going to share the screen, and I have some slides to share with you all. Reshma, can you confirm if it's visible now?
Suvarna, we are just about to see your screen now. It's just popping up. Yes, we can see your screen, Suvarna.
All right.
We're all
So,
set.
wonderful. Wonderful. So,
Yes, Suvarna, go ahead. No problem.
it is
We're all
it is
set.
thanking. All right. So,
Yes.
moving on, our take on what is employee experience. We have a little small definition on the same. Essentially, what we believe employee experience is that every interaction in the employee life cycle journey that the organization tries to deliver at the workplace to keep employees happy, and with the definitions of workplace changing, Lipika spoke about workplace integration instead of work life balance. I particularly like this definition because it has not restricted on delivering employee experience just at the workplace, but also beyond. Reshma, I hear some echo. Is it better?
Yes, I would just request Lipika to, maybe mute her screen so that, we do not have any echo. Yes, Suvarna, why don't you continue? You were
All right.
talking about the employee experience definition, particular with Sodexo.
Yes. So the whole intent is to analyze every interaction employees have on their journey with the organization, to where organizations seek to create world-class experiences for them that leads to better performance outcomes and better customer interactions eventually. We know happy employees make happy customers, and that's why in a study that Sodexo did, we realized that about 80% of all leadership that was surveyed, they rated employee experience as the top business prerogative and priority in their business strategies. Moving on, a little take on why incentives today, in a typical fashion that they were earlier defined, why are those definitions no longer relevant and perhaps not working? Lipika spoke at length about financial incentives, and the rise of non-financial incentives or differentiators, as she mentioned. Um, I would term them as workplace enhancers, and in the following slides, I'll speak at length on that topic. We see that the focus on monetary incentives by organization helps fulfill definitely some short-term needs of the talent pool, but in today's increasingly dynamic workforce, the overall employee experience is dependent on creation of choice and personalization, because the workforce is so varied and diverse, one size wouldn't fit all. And that's why we see the evolution of some of the practices in non-financial incentives, particularly around recognition, around well-being, around employee benefits, about health benefits, career and advancements, etc. Of course, have been practiced, for a long time now. So on the next slide, it's a little frozen now. Yeah, I'll need a little time. It's a heavy on this slide. It's a heavy slide. I'll explain what we are trying to depict. Essentially, Sodexo did a survey with about 4,000 employees across 4 continents to help its business leaders understand people's perception on workplace services and amenities. And on this slide, we have tried to summarize the findings of that survey. This report examines participants' responses around 22 workplace services. Those are, around training, around cleanliness, around food services, etc. at work, about childcare, about other employee assistance programs, etc. And are essentially designed to promote health, well-being, boost efficiency, maintain work-life balance, and encourage personal growth, as all organizations want for their employees. Now, a little context on the basis of this study. Frederick Herzberg, as we know, created the two-factor theory, where he introduced thought around workplace satisfiers, which are the factors that promote job satisfaction, and dissatisfiers, which are the essentially factors that cannot increase job satisfaction, but if removed or mishandled, can cause dissatisfaction. So based on that Herzberg's theory and some existing research, we try to explore key workplace factors, and we group them into 2 categories. What you see on the left side of the screen and in green icon represents those essentials or satisfiers maybe, and on the right side the blue icon represents the enhancers, the workplace enhancers like I mentioned in the earlier slide, or the dissatisfiers which if not treated well may cause dissatisfaction. So workplace essentials are the fundamental needs around health, personal growth, sense of connectedness, and the need to perform effectively. They form the whole bedrock of workplace. Workplace enhancers, on the other hand, are high value items that, when adopted by organizations, act as differentiators and can nurture deep connections to drive motivation and loyalty. These are services typically to attract the new generation of talent. And they, in a contrast of bedrock of workplace, could be termed as building blocks of workplace. When executed currently, they can power an exceptional employee experience. So, you see on the slide, the most rated essential workplace items were on communication, on the basic infrastructure that one needs to work with, not just at the workplace, but also if one is working from home. The break room coffee services or maybe the cafeteria solutions were also rated high by the employees who were surveyed. And on the right side, as the study mentions, the conventional store versus the food shop, or perhaps an ATM at the workplace, the health and fitness center, the necessity of having a gym or a fitness center at the workplace. These were the other items that were rated high by the selected audience. So moving on the next slide is a little perspective from the survey on various countries that were studied under those 4 continents. Particularly, I thought I chose this one because I thought these countries could be of interest to the audience today. We see, as also mentioned by Lipika, that financial benefits are degrowing dominance in the whole total employee experience rewards strategy. And so it is with rewards. And there are some different newcomers. We see the childcare services, thanks to the changes in the regulation, they saw a phenomenal rise. And so did the flexible working or the workplace integration, as also mentioned earlier during the talk. We are also witnessing a high rise in the private medical insurance usage, where organizations are enabling through their relationships medical insurance, say for voluntary parental insurance for the aging parents, while the organization may not be providing that solution to its employees as an offering, but through its relationship and network, it could negotiate great deals and bring them to the employees should they want to take it up personally for their parents. Well, yes, engaging a multi-generation workforce is a paradox, is what I believe. Employees are seeking workplaces that mirror all these experiences that we have been talking about, that are relevant in the new working age, um, and they seek support on the convergence of work and life, or work life integration, as mentioned earlier. Now, organizations which are passionate about creating a great workplace can draw inspirations from these employee perceptions, and some of the ideas that we have seen in the earlier presentation, and behaviors to unlock a differentiated experience, that keeping in mind also that it should resonate with the existing multi-generational workforce that currently is the employee workforce of an organization, and also attracts new talent. We know the difference in the expectations of various generations, and each is not alike. So while the organizations are trying to keep up to the expectations of what constitutes their current workforce, but these strategies also should be defined keeping in mind what would be the future workforce like, what would say the workers in the gig economy be expecting from organizations. And I think data and digital solutions can be key driver in execution of this effectiveness in employee experience. Moving on, in an increasingly agile and digital world that we live in today, disruption to the traditional workplace in the typical earlier 9 to 5 corporate world that we saw is is inevitable. Now, while technology is accelerating this change, but one disclaimer that I want to make, that it's only one piece of the wider workplace experience puzzle, and cannot be the solution to all challenges that one faces at workplace. It is one of the tools and only fits in solutions for few of the challenges. Now, what is also imperative is to choose a fully digitalized employee benefits experience to suit the various needs of the workforce. Having said that, instant gratification meets the expectations of the diverse workforce. So of course, technology can be a huge enabler there. We see recognition, employee recognition, and gifting solutions being being taken to the next level by leveraging technology and the new age solutions on those areas. Similarly, we would agree that more autonomy given to managers would enable more entrepreneurs in the organization, and thereby again, for example, organizations are seeing a shift in their strategy by enabling choice for their employees by giving them, say, a budget guidance, say, to training on training for say function heads, where the organization doesn't choose what trainings it's to lead, but it gives a overall budget guidance, and then basis what's relevant for that function, or for that employee for that matter, in the role, as well as what would be the personal inclination. People can leverage that choice. We have so many players in the market today. Udemy, for example, you could choose from the host of programs what would be the learnings you would want. Organizations are also aiming at empowering employees with more choices on items such as food, shopping, travel, and wellness. These solutions help employees marry their own personal life stage with the choices that the organization provides to suit their needs, ultimately leading to a better employee experience. how digital benefits create a better experience. I'll take some time on this slide as well. Um, few of the features of digital solutions versus the traditional solutions on employee experience are customization as per employee needs. We we know that today there are challenges with multi-generation workforce. There are also the more gender balanced teams, and given the demographics which have evolved, better solutions can be packaged and delivered to meet the life stage of the employee as well as their relevant needs. Libik also spoke at length on this topic earlier, and how we can add on existing solutions as per the needs of the employee. I'll take one example here. So, if in today's workplace, say a couple, both of them are working, and quite obviously their organization would cover, the spouse and children. Now, since one organization is already covering this family, uh, what if the other spouse wants to cover their parents instead of their family, because that's a double that may not be as much needed. So organizations are looking at creating choices for their employees in order to better deliver this experience and create solutions that meet the needs of the employees instead of what is available in the basket. Technology definitely acts as an enabler as well. It We see there is better user experience and more freedom, given that there is more choice. It facilitates real-time communication, um, also helps employees to make choices from the vast networks that they have. uh, the social network is always bigger than the previous the digital social network is bigger than the previous social network that we used to see in organizations. I'll take an example here. um, when we were trying to tackle expectations on improving well-being and health of employees. Sometime back, earlier, it was limited to the confines of gym uh, nearby in the vicinity of the organization. While that has changed with the digital evolution, where we have solutions from Fraternity, from Healthify Me, where you choose what you want basis your need. There's a customization that's available. um, you also choose what, when and where you want to use the solutions that the organization is enabling for you. And all this was unthought of earlier, and suddenly we see a surge in the usage and improvement in the physical well-being of employees because of these digital solutions. At Sodexo, we have personally experienced both Fraternity and Healthify Me for our employees. And we realized that the usage of the earlier health benefits that we were offering versus these, there's a significant difference, just because um, technology helps in customization uh, to such an extent, and also has tried to remove the barriers that were existing in the usage of the earlier solutions. Um, I'll take another example: corporate social responsibility. It's interesting. In the earlier times, what was limited to few select NGO and social partners for organization basis the themes in which the organization wanted to choose their corporate social responsibility agenda, has the usage of digital, and with I've seen some solutions in this space where employees can choose basis what they feel for, instead of just volunteering for organizations which were relevant to the CSR agenda of the organization. So if I feel more for the old age versus, say, the child or the victims of human trafficking, I could choose from the available options of volunteering and support for the old age. And I have seen some organizations who are leveraging these digital solutions. There is a significant increase in delivering social responsibility through organizations in a corporate manner. So that was a little bit on how digital benefits create a better user experience. On the next slide, we have some of the offerings from Sodexo, which are enabling a better user experience, a better employee experience on items such as meal, fuel, telecom, gadgets, office wear, leave travel. And we also are working on some of the solutions on health and wellness, childcare, the creche services, of course, office commute, etc. Some of the clients who are leveraging these solutions already are on the next slide. Overall, to sum it up in the interest of time, at Sodexo we have seen that by leveraging technology and digital solutions, clients have been able to deliver a better employee experience. The new technology helps I'm sorry, I lost the connect. The new technology helps the hired and the trained workforce to be more agile, and by placing them at the client campuses, there is better feedback that comes in, and that can initiate real-time changes and improvements, eventually leading to a superior employee experience. With that, all I want to sum up is employee well-being and quality of life are extremely important in the evolution of a better employee experience. How we support our employees will make the difference. The new workplace blueprint contributes to an all-inclusive experience that can have a powerful impact on employee performance, boost talent, and definitely accelerate growth. What I said at the beginning of the presentation, happy employees create happy customers. I would reiterate that at the end as well. And we would be taking in questions and answers now.
Thank you so much, Suvarna. I think that just, perfectly summed up our discussion for today. And I would like to thank Lipika as well, because, she was kind enough to share what practices have worked at Schneider and how they have evolved in their employee benefits and rewards system. And it was very interesting to note that, the way the economy is changing, how we are becoming more prone towards flexible working hours, towards a more work from anywhere approach. The definitions of work-life balance are changing, and it's becoming a more of an integrated lifestyle versus work separate and your personal life separate, and that requires all HR leaders, all talent leaders to redefine the way they construct their benefits and compensation plan. And I think Lipika and Suvarna, the two of you as a team as well, you really touched upon a variety of topics which would definitely help our audience who work in a wide spectrum of sectors, and it definitely applies to the workplace directly. And that's why we have two questions here. So I'm going to just read out the first question, and I would invite each one of you to take it up quickly in the interest of time. So the first question is, with regular recognition and appreciation, how do you manage internal competition growing up within team members, which can actually impact the team morale, the team spirit, and the tendency to collaborate with each other? So this is something that the new age workplaces are tackling. So Lipika, would you like to take up this question?
Yeah, sure. I think From my perspective, I think it's the other way around, because when you actually recognize people for their exemplary efforts, for the work that they have put in, it motivates the others as well. And we are really talking about social recognition today and enhancing the culture of recognition. So, if within a team of 8 people, if 2 people have really done well and you recognize them in an open way in a social recognition platform, I think it adds to the morale of the other people. Everyone wants to do much more better. So instead of having that negative competition or a competitive spirit, I think what has worked in our organization is that we have got people performing much better if they have been given a pat on their back, and the teams have also come together and worked in a collaborative way. What we need to ensure is all the recognition and rewards that we're giving is very authentic. It's not that just for the sake of it we are recognizing someone. So that needs to be kept in mind. But I think instead of being a deterrent, it is something which helps people to get further motivated and do well in their areas of work, and time and again show exemplary performance in their own work.
Very true. I mean, if you provide the correct reason and the exact, reason because of which someone is getting appreciated, then it kind of, builds that reinforcement that this is the behavior that the organizational culture rewards. So that way it kind of creates healthy competition, if you will. So I will also ask Suvarna to kind of, maybe tackle this question in a few words.
Sure. Lipika has spoken at length on the topic. All I want to add is transparency would be the key when it comes to rewards and recognition and the parameters that are being recognized. And as long as the bedrock is on objectivity and fairness,
Mm-hmm.
most employees, reasonable enough, would appreciate the rewards and the recognition offering. On the second part of your question, Valerie, how do we
Yes.
embed work-life balance as a benefit? And if we can share some examples, I'll take some examples from Sodexo. While because someone has asked, particularly besides flexible working hours, what could be some of the examples?
Mm-hmm.
Enough said on technology that could enable work from home. That is one that we have also seen at the there are there were some functions, particularly say let's finance, we would work on tools and systems which would be needing a heavy infrastructure support, and maybe access to some of the solutions, some apps that are that come at a cost. So over a period of time, we have enabled those applications on the systems of each of the employees, including these finance resources of ours who were particularly affected with a long working hours, and
Mm-hmm.
we see the benefit with the smiles on their face, and a clean office on Saturday, which used to be a rare sight, particularly at quarter ends and year ends. One more example I would want to share is we have something called condensed working. Some employees at various personal life stages may have reasons to not wanting to work for entire 8 hours a day, and that those reasons may be valid for 6 months, 8 months, 1 year. So this policy has enabled choice for such employees where they choose the number of hours they would want to contribute. Assuming their role enables and allows such flexibility, they paid for the number of hours that they chose and for the period that they work. That they have needed that flexibility.
Yes.
And once their personal life challenge that they're witnessing is over, they resume regular working hours. And
Definitely. So special provisions, sort of.
yes, so yes, those were two quick examples on that question.
Thank you so much for answering that question. And I really appreciate both Lipika and Suvarna for sharing these examples and making the whole topic very close to home, very close to the workplace. And I would just like to thank you, Lipika and Suvarna, for your time and for your wonderful insights and for making this webcast all the more interesting and all the more lively.
Thank you, Lipika and People Matters for this.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
are glad that you are here.
Thanks to all the participants as well. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Yes, and I would like to thank all the participants and all the questions and all the wonderful comments that we've been seeing on our platform. So, really, thank you for being here with us on this webcast. We will, of course, be coming in with many more webcasts soon, and stay tuned for them. Thank you very much and have a good evening.